Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. Lots to talk about tonight. It's about 9:30 on Thursday evening, and had a lot of data to pour through tonight, so a little bit later making this video than normal. But Sunday's system looks like a doozy, and of course the one we had here this morning didn't turn out to be a whole lot. We had some slick roads. Most of us ended up with a dusting to a half inch or so most in this area. Points more north towards Bloomington and Terre Haute, for example, had 3 and 4 and 5 inches, but we lucked out and didn't have a whole lot of that around here. But that luck may be about to change. The Weather Prediction Center has already issued a moderate risk for at least 4 inches of snow on Sunday. That's what the green is, with a slight risk, 10%, extending all the way down into Kentucky. Now, they issue risk zones for 4 inches, 8 inches, and 12 inches. Now, they don't have anything for the 12-inch, thankfully, but they've also issued a slight risk for our area for at least 8 inches of snow on Sunday. So this is a system that this means business. And you've seen this graphic before, and remember what we're looking at here is the polar vortex. The cooler temperatures, the blues and the greens, and even in the whites, this is really what this is height anomalies at the 500 millibar level. But to put that in just plain English where everybody can understand, this correlates with cold temperatures. These warmer tones that you see in the oranges and the reds, that's above normal temperature, so that's warmer than normal. But this is colder than normal, and of course the polar vortex is nothing more really than where the pocket of coldest air is, and it naturally rotates around the poles here, and it varies, and sometimes it breaks off into two pieces, but basically the idea here is the North Pole is coming down for a visit next week, and you see that it's spilling down into here. Here we are in Indiana right here, and that's not good for us. In fact, if we just take a look at temperatures right now, what you see here with temperatures being at -24, -20 up here in Canada, that's all coming our way, unfortunately, and it looks like it's going to be ridiculously cold over the coming few days. Now, right now it's not so bad. We're sitting at 18 here at 9:30 at night in Huntingburg, all the way down to 13 in Bloomington. Of course, they had a heavier snowpack up here, so and that makes a difference. And northern Indiana will probably even go into the negative digits tonight, but we won't have to face anything like that down here. Right around 12 here in Huntingburg, probably 10 or even 9 in some single digits a little bit north with that heavier snowpack. But again, that colder weather is on the way. And what I also want to do here is just sort of talk about the setup for what we can expect on Sunday. So let me just illustrate this for you. And basically what we're going to have happen on Saturday, we're going to have a low pressure that's developing out in here. The low pressure is going to move down sort of in this direction. Now where it moves from here in our direction is going to be key to what kind of snow we get. Now the Euro model wants to take this and track the low more in a fashion similar closely to the Ohio River up in this direction. The GFS wants to track the low more like this into eastern Kentucky, and the Canadian model wants to track it in a fashion similar here to what the European model is. But basically, here's the idea. If the lows tracks more along the river like this, then that's going to push the heavier snow totals likely into central and northern Indiana. Whereas if the low tracks more in a fashion like this, these heavier snow totals can come a bit farther south. So where this low tracks is going to be key to determining that. Now, unfortunately, right now, the storm system that we have isn't on shore yet, so we can't sample the data. Now, it will come on shore overnight tonight, and once it gets into our upper air network, hopefully tomorrow's model runs will give us a better picture and start to dial in to where exactly the track of that low is going to go. That'll help us predict some snowfall amounts more. Have not got an official snowcast map out, but I will have one out tomorrow. I'm waiting to see the data because I want to get that as accurate as I possibly can, because if we just start to take a look at those snowfall accumulation maps, what you're going to find is they're all across the board. So let's just take a look at them. The first we'll take a look at here is the Euro's snow map, and let me just put this out to, here we go. And this is Sunday night at 1 a.m. Into Monday morning, and all the snow would have been ended by then. So you're here in the state of Indiana, and you see the biggest and heaviest of the snow totals is confined to central Indiana. And remember what I said is if that low tracks right along the Ohio River like this, you're going to have this heaviest of snow totals be pushed up. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll get stuck and screwed with no snow at all. By any means, we'll still get some snow out of it, but the heavier snow totals get pushed more toward the north. Here's the Canadian's rendering of it, and you see it's actually very similar to what the European models is. And again, the Canadian takes a very similar path. Now, the GFS is a bit of a party pooper on the snow totals if you're a snow lover, but remember with the GFS, the low tracks more in a fashion similar to this into western Kentucky before curving and going up. And so that would have a chance for some heavier snow totals to be down in our area. And right now, what it's taking here is, I know it's kind of hard to see, it's probably covered up by my window here, but anywhere from maybe, say, 4 to 6 inches with this. And let me back off of this and get this back here, because if I go down to this, you'll get fooled, because we actually have multiple systems to deal with by the time we get to next Thursday of next week, and we're looking at accumulated snow here. So this isn't the only snow system we're going to have to deal with. But let's focus on Sunday first. The NAM model is also very similar to the GFS. It tracks it very similar in a fashion similar to the GFS, more like this. And of course that brings a chance for some of those accumulating snows to come down in here. And you do see some pockets of 6 inch was where this first purple starts down in here. So, there's some heavier snow totals down in here. Obviously, by far, the Canadian model and the European model are the heaviest as far as the snow totals, but we will just have to see. For right now, I'm tending to side more with the Canadian and the European model on the track of the low, and that's really for several reasons. For one, if we just sort of go back to here and we talk about the track of the low, I expect that we're going to have very much of a deepening low pressure system due to the presence of a strong high pressure that's going to be sort of forcing its hand. And whenever you have by a deepening low pressure, I mean one that strengthens really fast. When you have that, those tend to go poleward. And so instead of going straight out like this, they start to be pulled more towards the north. Now that would be more conducive to taking this low from here and pushing it more along here like what the Euro and the Canadian does. If it doesn't deepen as much, and that's what the GFS doesn't deepen it as much, then you have a chance of taking it more like this. So we'll just have to see how that develops. The other thing is the heaviest of the snowpack, as it stands right now, is more like this. And low pressures tend to want to ride on the edge of that snowpack, so that would give some credence to having the low track more along the Ohio River as well. So there's a number of reasons that we could give for this, but I do think that low is going to deepen more, and so right now looks to me like the heaviest of the snows would be confined up more into central and northern Indiana, but that doesn't mean we won't get anything. In fact, as you can see with the idea on this, we go from 2.9 inches in Huntingburg to greater than 10 inches here in the Vincennes area, and that's this is only 30 or 40 miles as the crow flies, and that's a heck of a precipitation discrepancy. I mean, if you just take a look at this, you see a very strong cutoff gradient onto this. So point being, somebody is going to get absolutely hammered with some snow out of this. We just have to fine tune and position exactly where this is going to be. Now, another story that we want to take a look at in addition to all the snow totals is the expected temperatures after this, and they are going to get just bitter cold. As I showed you, the North Pole is going to be coming for a visit. Now here's what the European model does with our temperatures at 7 a.m. on Monday morning, and you can see it drops it down to -4 here in Evansville, -5 in Huntingburg, even up to -12 here in Bloomington and in Vincennes, and of course it brings the heaviest snowpack up in this direction, so that's where the coldest of the temperatures are going to be, along with this idea. Now, with the Canadian, it's in a very similar fashion. Again, the heaviest of the snowpack is up in here, so you get the colder temperatures, but you're still below zero into much of southwestern Indiana, even into the low digits here. If you go with what the GFS says, the GFS is really aggressive on its cold and takes us down to 11 below in Huntingburg, even down to 16 below in Bloomington. So this is absolutely just ridiculous temperatures. And we'll go back to the GFS just to show you that it sticks around for a while. We're talking below zero temperatures even again here at Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. By the time you get to Wednesday morning, it moderates us back into the teens, but it's kind of one of the outliers. If you go into the Canadian with this, and let me at least attempt to put this into motion here. By the time you get to Tuesday morning, again, you see very bitter cold temperatures for us as well. By the time you get to Wednesday morning, it's not as... whereas you're looking at teens with the Euro model, the Canadian is still taking us at single digits, low single digits, even at 2 degrees here. And the GFS is in a very similar fashion with that. It keeps us here at Tuesday morning below zero as well, and even by Wednesday morning we're only at 4 degrees. So the idea that you want to see here is it's going to be ridiculously cold over the next. Let's talk about the teleconnections real quick. We haven't gone through these very much recently. I know these can be confusing graphics, but let me just explain them real quick because they're important in this situation. Remember, there are 3 things that we want to take a look at for the perfect snowstorm. You want the Arctic oscillation to be negative, you want the North Atlantic oscillation to be negative, and you want the Pacific North American, the PNA, to be positive if you want that perfect snowstorm. So let's take a look at it. The Arctic oscillation, remember the AO is just saying cold air is on the move from Canada coming down to our area. Here we look at the 4th, 5th, and 6th when we're looking at this, and you see a very strongly negative AO. Again, that's because the polar vortex is visiting us. The North Pole's coming for a visit. Plenty of cold air available to work with for a snowstorm. With PNA, by the time you get into the 4th, 5th, and 6th, it's going positive. That means the jet stream takes a nosedive over us, and that allows that cold air to funnel in down to us and to bring with it the cold air and the energy needed for a storm system. We got that working for us. But what you see is that at this same time, the NAO is actually positive to slightly neutral. So in other words, there's no blocking out in the North Atlantic Ocean, which means that this system will be a fairly fast-moving system. So by the time the snow starts, potentially even as early as Saturday night, and moves on in, it'll move out pretty fast. So that in itself is a pretty good thing. All right, I apologize for pausing the video there, but I wanted to get this pulled up because I want to time it out, and I didn't have this pulled up yet. So, but I want to sort of time this out real quick for you so that you can get an idea of timing to expect on it too. High pressure large and in charge for Friday, giving us more of a sun with a handful of clouds, but mostly sunny probably. And then as we go into Saturday, its conditions start to cloud up. Here we are by the time we reach 1 a.m. on Sunday morning and Saturday night into Sunday morning. You notice the leading edge of the precipitation here is starting to make it into make it in here. Now the GFS wants to take this as mostly all snow. Remember, this first blue line is the rain-snow changeover line. So this takes it under the GFS's rendition as mostly snow for us. By the time you move it in, and then we start to get the heavy precipitation spilling over. And here we are, even at 7 p.m. on Sunday night, we've still got a lot of precipitation in the area, and it's not cleared out until the overnight hours on Monday. So what we're looking at is precipitation starting on Saturday night into Sunday morning sometime. So the evening on Saturday should be fine from the way things look right now, but probably sometime after midnight starting, and then lasting through much of the day on Sunday, from the way the GFS is taking it right now. Now, we'll, as we get into tomorrow, the 4-kilometer NAM, our high-resolution NAM, we'll start to see this storm. We'll be able to get a future radar associated with this and maybe get a little bit of a better picture on timing. And I'll do another video then where we can update on this as well, especially since it's such an important situation here. 7-day forecast, southernindianaweather.com. You can always find this. We're going down to about 12 tonight. Again, those with the snowpack a little bit higher to the north. Only 25 tomorrow, but mostly sunny and cold. 37 on Saturday. That's going to feel nice compared to the cold we've been in. But then on Sunday, we start off with a temperature in the upper 20s, maybe warming just a tad bit before it falls. I might be too aggressive. It may not even make it above freezing. Now, I've been pretty conservative in keeping us at -3 on Sunday night. Some of the other models don't do that. Only 2 for a high temperature on Monday, down to -9. 8 on Tuesday, -1 for the low Tuesday night. And then, of course, on Wednesday, we have another shot at snow. We warm up to 18, but because of the clouds increasing here, we're only going to go down to about 14. So who would have ever thought that, man, it would be refreshing to see 14 for an overnight low. But when you're talking -9, that sounds pretty daggone good. So we will continue to update you from here. Again, this is going to be one of those situations that you're going to want to monitor things as for how these things develop. I do expect that most likely by Saturday afternoon we'll start to see some winter storm warnings weather advisories for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised to see winter storm warnings issued for this. And of course, I'll post those as they come on about. So we'll keep you updated. Another one of these videos I'll do tomorrow night. So that's the latest as it stands right now. Look for my snowfall accumulation map tomorrow out once these numbers start to get dialed in. But again, it's looking like it could be a pretty significant storm. Anywhere from probably 2 or 3 inches at the minimum for most of us, all the way up to a foot for some of us. And we're just going to have to dial in that snow about. So I wish I could tell you more, but maybe we'll know some more tomorrow. For Southern Indiana weather, I'm meteorologist Michael Wilhite. Have a great night, folks, and stay safe. I'll talk to you tomorrow.